How to save your marriage. What the experts are forgetting to tell you. This is Jay with RelationshipLoveAdvice.com. How to save your marriage. It's the topic of dozens, if not hundreds, of self-help books out there. Yet divorce seems to be as popular as ever. It's not necessarily because the advice in the books are wrong. It's usually because the advice you get, there are just some things about your approach to your marriage that needs to change before you can even take advantage of the tips that you're getting. And the tips are usually good. First thing you need to do is rule out divorce. If you've been talking about divorce but neither of you really want it, then just stop talking about it. It's not an option. So don't even mention it. Don't even bring it up in conversation. You know, some people tend to use the D word as a threat, or even, even just to, play games with it. But just don't even bring it up. The more you use it, the more likely it'll become a reality. Remember to be respectful. You remember the first few dates you ever had when you hardly knew each other and you were nervous? You probably said please and thank you. And if you had any disagreements, you probably patiently and politely resolved them. You don't have to fall in love again, but if you want to find out how to save your marriage, at least try to get back to that level of respect with each other. Accept that your spouse is imperfect. When you're newlyweds or you've just, come together in a relationship, it's easy to ignore those little annoying habits that, that your partner may have done in the beginning. Maybe like, leaving your clothes on the floor, or forgetting to fill the gas tank, or, just simple things like that. But after a few years of living together or, in marriage, those little things tend to be irritations that build up, and you start to wish that your spouse would just stop doing them. Well, the next time this happens, the next time you have something small like that happens and it irritates you, just consider whether it's really that serious. Is it really that big a deal? If not, just let it go. Stop criticizing. Even if you've managed to accomplish, that you accept that your spouse is imperfect, and even that you're imperfect, stopping criticizing is probably one of the, it's easier said than done. Because once you've fallen into that habit, it takes some effort to stop. Try to avoid, verbally attacking your spouse for doing something that you don't like. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't let them know when something's bothering you, but doing so in a non-judgmental way can make life a whole lot easier. Learn about the opposite gender. Listen, no sitting in the park and watching people walk by either. That doesn't count. Take an open mind and approach, a different way of understanding the way that the opposite sex typically approaches intimate relations. Read up. You may think because you've been around them, this person all your life, that you know them, but you might be surprised what you can learn if you just go on a discovery, on a journey, and really start looking at different things that you may have not noticed before. It may just save your marriage. And if you do, learn something new that surprises you, don't take a book's word for it. Ask your spouse if that's how they feel. Just start having some really big revelations together. Figuring out how to save a marriage doesn't have to be complicated, but you can't rely on the free information you find on the internet alone. Even self-help books written by professional marriage counselors leave out some of the fundamentals. So when you try to mend your marriage, make sure you start with a good foundation. This is Jay for RelationshipLoveAdvice.com. If you haven't discovered the 7 truths of love, then you're going to breathe new life in your relationship when you visit RelationshipLoveAdvice.com and discover what few people ever consider in their relationships.